Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Our Story Conversations with PhilDev. My name is Emil Tapnio. Our Story is a weekly web series that brings you today's most promising global Filipinos in the field of entrepreneurship and innovation. Get up close and personal with distinguished Filipino entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders through inspiring stories of their journey towards success. The show gives a sneak peek to the lives of these Filipinos who are leading change in the hopes of inspiring others in their own journey as aspiring innovators and entrepreneurs themselves, making a difference in their field. So this is their story, our story. Our guest today is Eros Resmini. Eros is passionate about building businesses by lending his expertise in operations, marketing, and business development. He describes himself as somewhat addicted to the early stage and complementing product-focused entrepreneurs. After 20 years of operating businesses ranging from Fortune 500 to seed stage startups to unicorns in the Silicon Valley, Eris created his own angel fund composed of industry veterans who are passionate about helping founders. He is passionate about giving back to the startup community and helping young builders create lasting foundations for their products and services. He acts as an advisor, angel investor, or both with all the companies that they support. Eros has over 16 years of experience in digital entertainment and gaming, focused on customer-facing roles in both small and large company settings. He loves consumer entertainment products, especially gaming and music. From 2013 to 2016, he was actually here in the Philippines to serve as one of the lead lecturers and mentors for the Idea Entrepreneurship Workshop series that we implemented at PhilDev with support from USAID. So everyone, please welcome Eros. Hi Eros, how have you been?
Hello everyone. Hello internet. How are you guys doing?
We're trying to be good here in the Philippines. Um, Surviving, I must say. You're still based in the Silicon in the Bay Area, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I spend my time between my home in San Francisco and
Mhm.
a little place we have up in the country in the Sonoma wine country. Yeah.
So earlier this call, you mentioned that this is the first time that you and your wife are alone with no kids around. How's it
Yeah,
going with you?
it's wild. I'm about an hour into it and I'm not sure what to do with myself. Like all parents these days, we're doing things that we haven't had to do before. There's
Mhm.
homeschooling and um, explain to your children all the craziness that's been happening in the world. So
Mhm.
it's been interesting with no kids for a little while, and I've got three of them. I've got a 6-year-old all the way up to a 12-year-old. So
Oh.
we got our hands full.
So Eros, the past 3 months or during the whole time that you are in quarantine, you're also working. Is that correct? You're working from home.
Yeah, so I recently left a company called Discord that I was one of the early employees at and an early investor at, and I
Mm-hmm.
went back to angel investment, which was actually what I was doing when I first met PhilDev and got involved in the idea workshops.
Mm-hmm.
So I've started a small fund, and I'm just back to helping young entrepreneurs. I really love, as you mentioned in your introduction, I love the early stage. I love it when things are dirty and messy, uh, and I can help. Hopefully, I can help.
Thank you for that. So, Eris, before we dive back or dive into your current endeavor, so can you tell us the beginning of your journey into the startup industry and at what point did you become passionate about building businesses?
To San Francisco in the late 90s. And for those of you that don't know, that was when the dot-com sort of adventure in San Francisco was happening. So you would walk down downtown San Francisco and it was nothing but startups.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone who had just recently graduated from college and was trying to find their first job, it was an amazing time to start a career because there were jobs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky enough to get involved with a few and learn from some very smart people. And I quickly became sort of addicted to this concept of building things from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, as many of you may know, is the dot-com bubble burst. So fast forward now to 2001, 2002, and if you were one of those people, which I was one of them, that started in startups, you were actually branded as a bad human being because you destroyed the economy. You destroyed the local economy. So I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job at all, and I was wondering, man, maybe this startup thing isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
I made the decision to go back to school. I went and got an MBA, And I actually spent a little bit of time at HP doing some stuff in digital entertainment. So I helped manage some of their music and gaming and video partnerships.
Mhm.
But the whole time I was thinking, man, when and so after I left HP, I got back into the startup world, and I haven't stopped since.
But I mean, being a businessman or like being involved in a business, is it something that you've been working on or thinking about growing up, or you just got exposed to it when when you came to the Silicon Valley?
I had two parents. My mother, who comes from a very entrepreneurial family, built many businesses in sort of the Metro Manila area before moving to the States. And my
Mhm.
father, who's been a long time entrepreneur and technopreneur. I think I was taught lessons maybe that I wasn't even aware of at a young age. So I was very lucky to be exposed to that.
Mhm.
I also grew up in Palo Alto, California, which, as many of you may know, is a hub for innovation and a hub for startups. So, whether deliberate or not, I was seeped and steeped in this sort of entrepreneurial lifestyle from a very young age. And it obviously had some impact on me because it became very natural to me early on to want to be part of it.
Right, right. So the reason why I'm asking, because in the Philippines, the how do you say this? The expected nature of a businessman is that you have to be a Filipino or a Filipino Chinese, because well, that's how it's been. I mean, a lot of the businessmen here are Filipino or Filipino Chinese, and primarily it's because of the influence of their mom. And I'm glad to hear that you're an example of those who are not necessarily the archetype of a businessman, right?
Mhm.
So, Eros, can you tell us what are some of the memorable moments that that you went through or on your journey in building businesses?
Oh man, there's so many of them. I'll have to think a little bit about answering this question. So I'll tell you a little story, which I think is a fun story about what it was like to be involved in what was my first successful startup. Um, I joined a little company called OpenFaint that was building effectively Xbox Live for the iPhone. So think about social gaming, sort of social status style system for mobile games. At that time, this is around 2007, 2008. Uh, the iPhone was very new. It was a very sort of interesting new thing.
Mm.
So I joined this company, and I got to the office the first day, and I knocked on the door, and the CEO who I had met opens the door and peeks his head out, and he says to me, "Oh no," and closes the door. And I'm thinking, what just happened? Like I should be going in and getting to my desk and getting my computer now. And so then a few minutes later, he opens the door and sort of closes it behind him, so that the people inside can't hear. And he stands out and he goes, "Okay, Eros, I'm sorry. I forgot you were starting today. We have some investors that are here. And so I need you to be the VP of business development right now. So we're going to go inside and talk to the investors, and you're the VP of business development. Okay." And I said, "Okay, sure. I'm VP of business development. Let's do this." And so I walk in, and he opens the door, and there's basically no furniture. Very early stage startup. They didn't have a
Mhm.
whole lot going on, no furniture. And so on the floor was Jason, the CEO, um, Peter Relin, who was our chairman and our chief, our sort of chief executive there, and three Japanese investors.
Mhm.
And we sat around in a circle, and we negotiated the company's sort of term sheet for its first investment on my first day.
Wow.
And I was apparently VP of business development. And the beautiful thing about that story, and the reason I like to tell it to people, is if you walk into a startup with expectations, or pretending to know what's going to happen, or a plan, um, it will constantly be thrown in your face. It will constantly change. And so, you know, that attitude that I don't think I planned for, but I took when Jason opened that door and said, "You're going to be VP of business development." And I just went with it. It's the kind of attitude that I think makes entrepreneurs successful.
Mhm.
Some entrepreneurs will be put in a situation like that, and they'll be scared, or they'll ask questions, or they'll want to have control over that situation, when the reality is, at the early stage, you really don't.
Mhm.
And the skill and the mindset is about reacting to situations and having flexibility and openness to what's going to happen and trying to do your best in those situations, even though you don't necessarily know the outcome.
Mhm.
So I love that story. Love telling that story, and I love using that as an example for that.
Did you
What's
keep?
another? Yeah, go ahead.
Did you get to keep your position?
I think my title changed about 10 times over the course of the next 6 months. Again, I'm rolling with things, going with the flow here. But again, I honestly think that's such an important part of it. At that stage, who cares what your title is, right? What matters is that the company is doing well and that people are having fun and that you're building something that matters. So I'm
Right,
happy to
right.
take whatever. I'll take janitor, whatever you want to give me.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's the beauty of being a startup and being with the startup world, right? Eros, also as you as an angel investor, as someone managing your own fund, on your road to starting your own fund, what were the key moments or milestones in your career that allowed you or paved the way for you to go to that path?
Well, I think there's two really big ones. The first would be after we sold our company OpenFaint, the one I just told the story about. I spent about 3 years at the acquiring company. It was a Japanese mobile company called Gree. And I was very burned out after that experience. It was great experience. I met wonderful people, but I had sort of grown tired of the idea of running companies and running businesses. And my executive chairman, Peter Rellin, the gentleman who was sitting on the floor in that room,
Mhm.
offered me the opportunity to work with him at his angel fund. And I knew nothing about angel investing. I was a pure operator. I was just a pure startup guy at that point. But it sounded interesting and it sounded new and it sounded like something I could get involved in. So I joined that fund, which was a formal group of veteran angel investors that had raised a successful fund already. Um, and I was there just to work with the company. So I came on just to help these young entrepreneurs the same way that I came on to help OpenFaint that day when I was magically anointed VP of Business Development. But it quickly turned into a wonderful learning experience around what it means to raise capital for an angel fund, how to structure relationships with young entrepreneurs, how to identify entrepreneurs that will be successful and may not be successful based on just a few hours of meeting with them. It's a very important part of angel investment. Um, Understanding what it means to have a healthy cap table or an unhealthy cap table. That actually matters. When you're an operator, you don't think about these things, but they really do matter. And starting to build an opinion about the kind of angel investor and the kind of advisor I wanted to be for companies. I had always experienced it as an operator and been blessed with wonderful advisors and investors. But to finally start to form an opinion about who I wanted to be, that whole experience was phenomenal and amazing.
Mhm. Mhm.
The second thing I would share is when I started raising money for the mini fund, which is the fund I'm currently managing. This is the first time I've done it on my own. In the past, as I mentioned, I was part of a larger group. I really had the opportunity to decide what kind of a fund I wanted to build and what kind of companies I wanted to invest in. There were no other partners to discuss this with. This is my fund. I'm running it the way I want to run it. So the one I learned about stuff I didn't have to do last time around because we had partners that were experts in things like forming the fund and creating an LLC and raising capital and doing the paperwork around that. So I had to learn that. So that was really interesting. Um, but more importantly, I started to have conversations with entrepreneurs about who I am and what I'd like to bring to the table, and really started to fall in love with the idea that I was not going to invest in a company and just give them money. That wasn't how I wanted to operate. I wanted to invest in the company with money and time and build a structure around that. And I got very comfortable with the fact that I like fun stuff. So I'm only going to invest in consumer stuff, and I'm going to invest in video games, and I'm going to invest in stuff that I think's cool. And because it's my fun, I get to say that, and that's okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. So, Eros, being an angel, is that a natural like evolution or course for people who started in the startup industry? Because, for example, Dado is similar, right? He started as an engineer, entrepreneur, and then
Mhm.
became an investor eventually. Similar with you, is that the natural course of things for you guys?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of veteran operators who've had success move on to be uh, angels or VCs. And I say angels or VCs because I actually think they're quite different in terms of the
Mhm.
way they behave and what they
Right,
bring
right.
to the table.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I do think it's natural. I do think it's natural, and I think it's actually one of the things that makes the Silicon Valley what it
Mhm.
is you have so many experienced operators who've been through the trenches of failures that you have when you do these companies and successes that you are sometimes lucky enough to have when you do these companies, and to bring that knowledge to the next generation of entrepreneurs means that that next generation of entrepreneurs is going to be that much more successful and learn
Mhm.
from my mistakes and my other fellow former operators turned angels
Mhm.
mistakes. So yeah, it's natural and it's awesome, and I hope that other ecosystems, including the ones that I've seen in Manila, will get to that point. Because at some point you
Mhm.
will have successful entrepreneurs, and actually at some point you already have successful entrepreneurs. It's just a matter of when will they get to the angel part of their career, and when will that be a large enough ecosystem.
Eros, as an investor, you're also a founder. So what risks and challenges did you face as a founder? And I know you've had many, but have the challenges changed from your first startup to your most recent startup? I understand you have Discord now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the challenges are the same, I would say, between startups. You know, building a product that works and matters is very, very difficult. And I'm on the sort of the marketing and business development side of that. So getting people to care about a product is
Mhm.
difficult when it's brand new and no one's heard of it before.
Mhm.
I think the big difference between maybe your first startup and your second and third startup is um, you make less of the dumb mistakes
Mhm.
the second and third time around. But that's like anything in life, right?
Mhm.
You stub your toe on that sort of corner in the house, and you're not going to walk the same way the next time because you know it really hurts when you stub your toe on that corner in the house. So the same thing applies in these business settings. I will say my experience at Discord was interesting because I felt like the first year to two at Discord. Um, Maybe almost felt too easy because we were so clear about how we wanted to build the company and which things we didn't want to do. And we were so clear about building things that we forgot to build or never got to building in the previous company. And as a reminder, the CEO and founder of Discord is the same CEO and founder that I worked with at OpenFaint. So
Oh,
he
okay.
and I not only have had some fun together in building stuff, but we have a hive mind in that we've really gone through the trenches together a couple times. Um, so those first year or two, it really felt like we knew exactly what we were going to do and why we were going to do it. Now, Discord was wildly more successful than OpenFaint was. So by the time we got to year three, I had no idea what I was doing. But we figured stuff out, and we had great advisors along the way, and we learned a lot along the way, and it was a good ride. Can't complain.
Great, great, great. So now that you've started your own fund, Eris, what is your vision for your organization? What problem are you trying to solve, basically? You alluded to this earlier, but can you, expound more on it?
Yeah, I have a pretty simple thesis with this fund. The first I kind of alluded to earlier, which is I'll only invest in things that I think that are cool,
Mhm.
which is a completely arbitrary judgment call by me. um, and I fully admit that. But I generally like consumer stuff. I like stuff that people will touch and grow emotionally attached to. If you've looked at the Discord as a product, you'll see that it has those attributes. But I've also told entrepreneurs that I want to be heavily involved in the company. I want to help the company. And so sometimes I'll get approached by entrepreneurs that have an amazing product idea. They've got amazing vision. I think the product's cool, but once we get to talking, it's pretty clear that I won't be able to help them. Uh,
Mhm.
Now, help in an entrepreneur's mind, especially a first-time entrepreneur's mind, is, well, you could still write a check.
Mhm.
Uh, and I've always said no to that because I think that for me, I want to be passionate about the companies I'm involved in. I really want to be involved in them. So I save those checks for those companies where I can really help.
Mhm.
Um, And so that creates a thesis, right? It's got to be cool. I need to be able to help. And at some point, they're going to need to have capital needs that make sense at my level, right? So,
Mhm.
as many maybe people that are watching know, some companies need $100,000 to get started, and some need 100 million. I can only afford the former. so, that's also obviously a filter that I can use in my thesis and my approach.
Mhm. So, Eros, for those startups that are not, say, good fit with, with your fund, do you refer them to a different fund, or is it something that you don't do because by referring them, it sounds as if you're endorsing them? Is it something that you're wary about as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me pick that question apart because I think it's actually a complex one, but it's a very good one. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think when I find a company that I'm excited about, that it's not a good fit for me, it is my duty to share it with other angels and VCs that I trust that share similar values to me. I think it's my duty because I'm so passionate about building companies that the good ones need attention and they need support. So I will 100% take the time and energy to try to help companies that I can help. If someone comes to me with a sort of a product area or a sort of a sector that I'm not familiar with, I may not have the contacts that can help them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do, I would. And similarly, if it's a company that isn't exciting and I'm not excited about it, it's not responsible of me to waste my social capital sharing those companies with other VCs because they'll probably see the same thing that I see, and
Mm-hmm.
then I won't be able to call that VC the next time around, right?
Okay, right, right.
And so it's really important, I think, that we are honest with those companies when we don't see what they see or we can't sort of get behind their vision and say, hey, good luck. I wish you the best. I'm probably not a good fit for you either on the investment advising side or to help you along the way. But good luck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to let those folks know. And like every angel and every VC out there, we say that sometimes, and then we end up regretting it later.
Eros, now that you've been how long have you been into this fund? A year or two?
Brand new. It's less than a year old. Yeah, it's
Oh,
brand new.
wow, okay.
I
So,
left Discord in October of last year, so it's
oh,
still quite yeah.
okay. So, Eros, okay, in the foreseeable future, how do you define success, or what does success look like for your organization? And what impact do you want to have as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's the obvious success metrics, like did the fund return on capital,
Mhm.
at some reasonable rate. And at my stage, you want to see returns in that sort of 4 to 7x range, I think, to be exciting, at least enough
Mhm.
to raise another fund.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I want to have had fun. I'm very simple when it comes to that stuff. I want to have had fun with the companies, and I want the companies to be able to talk to future entrepreneurs and say Eros was helpful, and he was genuine, and he truly supported the company, and he did what he said he was going to do.
Mhm.
That would be extremely rewarding to me as an advisor at this point in my career. Um, I also have some grand ideas around what should come next.
Mhm.
I'm getting more and more interested in this notion of social benefit corporations, which are, if you're not familiar, this new corporate structure that adds to their bylaws the concept that there are other stakeholders beyond the shareholders in a company.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you're a company that cares deeply about the environment, you might name as a stakeholder the oceans, or you might name as the stakeholder the beaches,
Mhm.
and you can name that in your bylaws, and you can actually create companies that are for profit,
Mhm.
um, but have this new stakeholder model that is different than the stakeholder models that most corporations are currently built on.
Mhm.
And so I'm very interested in the idea of working on building this mini fund for this sort of first round, remembering and identifying who I want to be as an advisor, but then
Mhm.
expanding the fund to take on investing in social benefit corporations, because I think there's such an opportunity to change the way we think about building companies, and it's amazing. There's a few folks that are starting to think about this. I think it's an emerging part of company building that
Mhm.
starts to sort of blend what may traditionally be a nonprofit sort of world with the for-profit world. And I actually think that convergence is really wonderful. You look at companies like Tom's. I think Tom's is a beautiful social benefit corporation that makes shoes that clearly make money. They're beautiful products. People want to wear them, but they have this amazing social benefit component to them. And there's others out there. So this is sort of one of many steps for me.
So Eros, so less than a year. What are some of the most important initiatives that you and your fund is working on right now? Is there something like a tidbit you could share to us? Purely
It's
secret.
so early that some of it's a little bit top secret, to be totally honest with you. Look, I do think that what I'm finding and what's really interesting is that there are other angels out there
Mhm,
that share this desire to not just write checks.
mhm, mhm,
And so I'm passionate about that model personally, and to find other angels that are similarly wanting to invest their expertise along with their money in companies is exciting to me. So a lot of the work I'm doing now is not only investing in companies and investing time and doing my sort of advisory and angel work, but is to work with other international angels to amplify the
mm,
approach, and pool resources and pool money and share leads. And I think that's exciting because obviously here in the Valley, we have a tremendous amount of capital. There's a lot of angel money. If you're a good company with a good idea, you're going to get funded. In other parts of the world, that's not the case yet. And I think my approach can really help those more emerging parts of the world that are trying to create their own entrepreneurial ecosystem.
mhm.
I think the experience is actually more important than the money, frankly, because the money you will get if you have a good idea.
Come back to the Philippines, Eros. We need someone like you.
Uh,
Eros, we talked about the cool stuff about that you want to drive for your fund, the social benefit aspect. But how does your organization drive innovation? That's the last part. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a product person, right? When I think of someone who's a true product person and a true innovator, I think of someone more like Dado than me.
Mhm,
Um, I'm the one who comes in when that amazing product person, that amazing innovator has stumbled on an idea and they're not sure what to do next, right?
mhm,
They know the product works, they've the market for it, but they don't know how to take that next step to get it out there.
mhm,
And there's two parts to that. There's obviously just the pure marketing of an idea or a concept or brand, but there's also building the company that will support the building and scaling of that product and the marketing of that product and brand. And so that's where I step in innovation. I think I'm the one that helps the innovator get their idea out there
mhm.
in a sustainable way, in a scalable way, in a responsible way. Um, I wish I was a product person and an engineer, and I wish I could innovate like that. I admire those people so much, but that's never been my skill set. I've always been more on the how do I make something cool and accessible and fun to talk about.
I like that. I like that. So, Eros, where do you see the mini fund in 10 years?
If this thing is successful, hopefully I'll have had a few funds. We've raised our first, and we'll have subsequent funds. And I would really love to see the social benefit angle, some parts of the fund that are specifically dedicated to those new school types of companies.
Mhm,
That would make me really happy because I think that's what the world needs a little bit. And I like those sort of new crazy business ideas anyway. So
mhm.
it seems like best of both worlds for me.
Oh, don't worry. The world will not run out of crazy ideas that you could fund. So, Eros, thank you so much. We're done with the serious stuff. Okay. We're gonna do rapid fire, just fun questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay. So, Eros, if you could go anywhere in the world, where and why? That's a question. Okay. Ocean, beach, or mountains?
Mountains,
Mountains. Okay. Why?
because I like to ski.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right, how about city or countryside?
Ooh, these days countryside.
Same with me. If I could only escape Manila. Oh my God. So, last person you spoke to or texted or talked via email, excluding me, excluding us.
I think it was my wife.
All right. Something you think everyone should know or learn how to do.
Play an instrument or sing.
Hmm, that's nice. Eros, I know that your mom is Filipino, right?
Hmm.
Is that correct? So,
Yeah.
what's your favorite Filipino dish?
Oh man. My favorite dish that she makes is pancit, but like that I personally love, I don't know. I'm like a breakfast guy, so I love the tocino, tosi log, just
Oh my
straight up
God.
old school
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Ask your mom to create lumpia. Have you tried lumpia?
Oh, of course. Too much.
All right, so Eros, three people that are alive that you can have dinner with.
Oh man, three people that are allowed to have dinner with. I would love to talk to Michael Jordan. I would love to talk to Barack Obama. And I would love to talk to Ban Ki-moon.
It's nice. All right, so last question, Eros. What is your dream today?
My dream today, I just want to be a good dad, to be honest. That's probably the most important thing to me right now. So I just dream about raising three great kids that do good things in the world.
Oh, that's so nice. So actually, Eros, that's it. That wraps our interview. So to all our viewers who would want to get in touch with you, do you have a website or an email that they can contact you?
Yeah, I'm a Twitter nerd, so you can find me first name, last name on Twitter at Eros Resmini. My DMs are open. Hit me anytime.
Okay, all right. To all our viewers, don't forget to leave us a like if you find today's episode interesting. You may also leave messages at the comment section for topics that we can discuss in the future. Lastly, subscribe and follow PhilDev on our social media channels if you want to learn more about innovation and entrepreneurship. Our Facebook handle is facebook.com/Philippine Development, and our Instagram and Twitter handle are at PhilDev_org. So watch out for our weekly episode again. Thank you so much. Stay healthy and sane, and thank you so much, Eros. To all our viewers, don't forget to leave us a like if you find today's episode interesting. You may also leave messages in the comment section for topics that we can discuss in the future. Lastly, subscribe and follow us on PhilDev if you want to learn more about innovation and entrepreneurship. Our Facebook handle is PhilDev Foundation, or that's facebook.com/Philippine Development. Our Instagram and Twitter handles are at PhilDev_org. So watch out for a weekly episode. Again, thank you so much. Stay healthy and safe. Bye.